Hi, every listener, and welcome to this conversation today. I got Julian Freeman here. Hello, Julian.
Hello. It's a long time since I've been called Julian. It's not it's a Swedish thing, isn't it? That you don't pronounce a J like that, do you, in Sweden?
No, so maybe it is. Yeah, you are a filmmaker, and you make lovely films about the three principles and inside and out understanding. And you come from England.
Yep, yep.
Mm.
All my life.
In all my life. Yeah. So you sharing this understanding to many people and interview the people who met Sydney Banks and were very close to the source. So I'm happy to have you here, Julian, and we are going to go with a deep conversation about life and death.
Yeah, it's very relevant to me at the moment because in the same week, like 2 weeks ago, my second grandson was born, and then the man who was going to be my father-in-law died. So he was aged 92. He did pretty well, so we had both things at the same, like the joy and the sadness, the the new arrival and departing. Yeah, it was quite a contrast, and it always reminds me that life does all these amazing things, like all kinds of things can be happening to you, some good, some bad, or at least that's the way they feel, and all you navigate your way through all of them, and they're all there to show you, to teach you, to experience yourself more, to understand life more, to be more aware. In the three principles, the one of the principles is consciousness, which is awareness. Basically, it's when you get caught up in that, all of the circumstances of life, then it all can seem very problematic and difficult. And I've been there. I think we all go there from time to time. Some of us longer, more than others. And I had some time that was quite long, quite a long period of time, in a couple of times in my life, quite a long period of time where I got caught up in everything that was going on and found it quite difficult. So now I think, and what that did for me was it showed me that actually I'm not that. I'm not any of those circumstances. I'm not, that doesn't define me. It's not who I am. I'm something beyond all that. So I can step away when I see that. I can step away from all those circumstances and know that I'm okay. Know that it's only the circumstances that look difficult. It's not me. And you were talking about, before we started this conversation, you were talking about having been in a position where you didn't see a way forward in life, for you. And I've been there too. We have a thing in the UK called the Samaritans, and I can remember there's like a phone line. It's like a phone line that you can. Oh, excuse my bell. There's a phone line that you can call when you need help, uh, and you're thinking about. In theory, you've got nobody to turn to. And I remember calling these people. It was a beautiful. I stopped my car. I drove around in my car, and then I stopped my car on the top of a hill with a beautiful view, and I rang them up, and they listened to me for, I don't know, an hour. And at that point, I find it hard to breathe. I just didn't see what You know, life was just a very emotional roller coaster, mostly down. And but that was something that I think that I created. Yeah, maybe. And it's what it showed me was that it was very nice talking to this lady, but if I just it didn't really change anything. What changed something was that old saying that you hear on, I don't know which movie it is, could be the Shawshank Redemption or the Green Mile. This too shall pass. You know, circumstances inevitably change. You know, like we go from one moment where my new grandson's born, we go and meet him and hold him, and he's wonderful, and da da da. And then 2 days later, my father-in-law to be dies, and we go and gather around the family because they're of their loss and they're grieving, and grieving happens, and it's just being able to go through all of that and see and come at it from a place of kindness, from a place of understanding. Sid Banks, his very early, I'm told, his very early meetings were, he just talked about love and understanding. And if we just had more of that, you know, what would life be like for everybody? And there's an understanding, and you know, there's the joy of my daughter and her partner, and they're tired but happy and so on, dealing with the newborn and all those things. And then there's my mother-in-law to be and my partner who are dealing with, oh dear, after I think they were married for 63 years, and you know, he's gone, you know. And when you can step back away from that a little bit, and you can come at it from a place of more kindness, of more understanding, and hopefully that means that I'm better for both groups of people, for, you know, both situations. So that's an important thing. A
But
nice.
I really felt like when I separate myself from others, I felt very alone and afraid when I was in that low mood and depressed. I felt like I'm here and all the others are there, and they don't understand what's happened to me. And I felt so separate, and all the other was, it's so in the unknown that I didn't know what happens from the outside. So I get so scared.
Now, you've said something to me that's really, really significant. The unknown. One of our things that we do as human beings that's helpful in some ways is we try and control everything that's happening. We try and plan everything that's happening so that we can be sure of an outcome or the way it's going to happen, or that it will meet your expectations of how life should be. And what I've learned is that, or what I understand more and more, is that it doesn't, I don't control anything. Life sends me the gifts of my grandson being born. I didn't order it, you know, and it's then my job to go with that flow, to accept, you know, whether it's a good thing or what seems like a good thing or a bad thing. It's for me to work through, to flow along with, to accept. So when I stop making plans and trying to control life, I start to see more of the goodness that is there. It might not be the goodness that I was looking for. It might be other things. Like my partner. You know, I met her. I was single. I was quite content. my dog, you know, me, nice, living in a nice place, just quite, everything was settled and nice. And then I met her and boom, you know, everything changed. And I think it's the same for her. And it could have been kind of, oh, hold on a minute, this is not what I signed up for. I didn't expect it to be like that this year. In fact, if I'd made any plans, it was more about doing things on my own and discovering a new path. And then of course life said, well, here's your next chapter. She's right here. And the same for her. So I think it's about, and we've had a great time. I mean, I would say that my last year was a magical year, lovely and brilliant, that I'm just 62 now. So in my 61st year, I fell in love again and found, you know, happiness like I did when I was 20. So it's life can send you absolutely amazing things when you're open to do it. I mean, I could have, if I was trying to plan and control things, I could have said, and I've heard people say this, I'm not ready for a relationship. I'm not going to go there, you know. And my partner made big steps too. She moved from where she lived in the east of England over to where I live in the southwest, and so that was a risk she took, but it's worked out beautifully. So when you say unknown, one of the things I think is important, if you look back over your life, whenever you've been thrown into the unknown, the first thing, when I published my book back in 2013, I used to go to talks, give talks, and I used to do this thing where I talk to people about, have you ever been through a difficult situation? And the three things that came out of that was always, number one, that people were always up really anxious, you know, as these situations started, they were really anxious about how it was going to turn out. The second thing was that they actually, once they're in those situations, you navigate them much better than you thought you were going to. You know, in the moment, like wisdom is there, you know in the moment what you need to do. And then the third thing was that the situations always came out better than they thought they were going to. You know, that worry right at the start, how it came out after that was not how they thought it was going to be, but often you look back and you go, oh, okay, that worked out just right. Not how I thought it was going to, but it turned out good. And so many people I spoke to in those talks had that experience. So the unknown is not something, like, people think that the unknown is scary, like it's trying to get you. But actually, and then there are people that say that life has your back, and it does, but it doesn't listen to you, and it doesn't, you know, there's a lot. Have you ever watched that movie called Bruce Almighty with what's his, Jim Carrey? You ever watched that movie?
Yeah.
Where he plays God for a little while, and everybody's sending up their prayers, and it's all these post-it notes all over the room, that people asking for God to do this, that, and the other. And I don't think it works like that. What works is that life sends you a gift, and you accept it.
But when you start to see that you function from inside and out and not from the outside and in, then first you can see that you can allow the unknown to be what it is, that you are guided, that you have this guide inside of you that moves you in life, probably not where you thought you were supposed to go, but where you will go. So when I started to see that there is something in me that have taken me through life, even if I didn't like my experiences, I started to get more calm and not so afraid, because I was very afraid and was and then I was thinking about death I both wanted to die because I didn't want to live this life like this, separate from others, but I was also afraid to leave. So it was like a lot of people say they can't run away from themselves, so they got a prison inside of them. And when you start to find that guiding and trust that, it change, the living change.
Definitely. There's a fellow called Anthony DeMello. He was a Jesuit priest in the 80s when he talks about awareness. But he also, one of his talks is about the difference between lonely and alone. And alone is a sort of independent place where you know that you're fully capable in yourself and so on. And lonely is needing something in order to feel complete. And he's like, there's a huge difference, but it's fine to be alone. You know, if you know that you're standing on your own 2 feet and you're fine, then that's all good. And I think you're right that the awareness of that you're not getting drawn into, you are not your circumstances, is where you can be standing on your own 2 feet, regardless of what happens. And then the other thing that I wanted to that you said that was really important. So when you're feeling lonely, when you're feeling like you need something outside to happen, it's about knowing that you've got everything, that you are everything, and remembering that and trusting that, like the fact that life is a benign thing. It's not there to catch you out and cause you trouble and pain, although it might feel like that sometimes. Ultimately, it's because you don't see the end game of what is in store for you, and it all turns out better. Than later on you look back, go, oh, okay, I understand what was going on there now, and that makes sense. So it's about giving yourself that space to live from. Yeah, definitely. And when you're talking about wisdom, I think there's a lovely thing there where there's an old Scots song that goes, like, what's the guy Jimmy Mackenzie is his name, or maybe he's not alive anymore. It was quite old when he sang the song. But it's, when you take the high road and I'll take the low road and I'll be in Scotland before you. And to me, that talks to, you can choose your route, you can choose how you live your life, etc. But essentially, if you go with the flow, you choose one route. If you do it your own way, you choose the other route. But my experience of it is, inevitably you end up in the place where you were meant to be. But the difference is that I can remember doing that myself. And the good thing about going the long route is that you learn all kinds of things about yourself. I mean, I've been in a relationship recently where it wasn't easy, and yet I learned, and it really helped me to learn about me, to learn that I was capable, and whatever the circumstances were, it didn't harm me or touch me, or I was still the man, the person that I am. And that gave me the real sense of this. No, I can stand on my own 2 feet, and I can be independent and on my own, and it's all good. So there's lots of things that kind of tie together. And I think that what has happened for me is that over the years I've built these little kind of building blocks of understanding, and so now it gives me a real lovely foundation from which to live my life. Yeah.
and that makes a huge difference to live from that, knowing from inside that I'm complete. I get all these feelings, but I'm allowed to just let those flow around me, and even if it doesn't feel very good sometimes, and even if I get very afraid, and it's when someone is dying. I've lost two people this last week, and we're sitting with them both, and it's also a very beautiful moment to be together with someone who's have been in pain, and you can see the body just moving, and get that rest and that release from the human body to something that just go out in the unknown. It's a very the energy in the room is very high, and also very beautiful, and we can we can see that we are not our body. We got a body, but something is just leaving the body and goes out in everything.
And that's I'm so glad you said that, because that's really good thing. When you were talking earlier about being worried about dying, and not wanting to die, I haven't been involved with lots of people dying close up, one to one, but the few times I have, it seems like, as you say, first of all, it's a very powerful space, the stillness, and all of your other thinking goes away, because there's nothing to do in that moment except to be with that person, although and to spend that time with them. And so in that stillness is a lot of power, is a lot of space for you to reflect and see and allow wisdom to occur. And then, as you say, you see that there's a kind of passing, that's the best way I can describe it, where they stop being a human being or a spiritual being together, and then there's just a body left, and it might be mechanically still working for a while. This is just the way I've experienced it anyway, but it's not them anymore. I can remember when my mum had my last conversation with her, through to when she died, and very, very shortly after she'd gone. I mean, she'd gone before her body completely finished, doing its thing. But when you saw just the body, it was like, okay, she's not here anymore. She's not in this form. Now that is I want to use the word sacred moment. Do you know, does a sacred translate into the Swedish?
Yeah.
I want to say that's a sacred moment, and that's a blessing for all of us to witness, to be part of that. And that stillness stayed with me for some days after she died. And also it really helped me. Because I never feel like my mum went, like spiritually or in some way she's always with me. I've never needed to grieve for her loss, because I feel her with me. And that to me is my understanding that, okay, so we come here, we're here to, experience what it is to be human, to love and to hurt and to cry and to laugh and all those things. But then we go to another place, and we take back our, eternal form. That's my belief anyway. And there's a lady that I love called Jan Christensen. She's an American, I think she might be Canadian actually, Middle West of the US. And she had a near-death experience, and she wrote about it and talked about, I left my body and then I came back. So I know that we are just energetic beings, and for me, that was like, way she described it was so beautiful. You go back to that field of energy that this all is, and including us. And so then it's like, oh, apart from the fact that I might have some kind of painful passing, which I hope not, I just get to go back to being that limitless energy that we came from. Like, that's a lovely, so the other side, I just talked about the stillness of during my mum passing, when my grandson was like born, I was there within a week of him. And there's that, you meet perfection, a little 7-day-old baby is just so perfect and complete. And, just, you just can see all the potential of what their life could be for them, another being coming into this world. And it's also a blessing, also very moving.
And I can also see that you got a dog like I got, and I don't really know why I was supposed to have these dogs. It just came. My first dog came when me and my daughter, we was in a very bad shape, and it was, I felt awful. And this beautiful dog came to our house, and she was so aware. She had a very high consciousness, and she talked to me, and she was together with both of us she looked very deep in my eyes, and when I was crying, she was sitting with me, and so I felt like the soul connection, like I feel with other humans, and it became very, very deep with her. And so when she died it's 1.5 year, it was really, really hard, but also beautiful, because she was 11.5 years, so she was old. She was an old lady, and she needed to leave this body, but she was so it was really a soul. I could see behind this dog that she was also connecting with me in a deep way that helped me to bring me back to my being when I was suffering so much. She was really there.
And I totally get that. It's amazing, isn't it, that like I've had dogs most of my life, and he's such a great teacher, my dog, and he's been such a constant companion. He's like 8.5 now, and he's been with me since he was 7 weeks old. And I guess a lot of the time when you see my stuff on Facebook or Instagram, it's pictures of the dog.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. It's cute.
but one of the things I love about him is they never judge you. They're always pleased to see you. They're in the moment. They don't have much thinking going on. A lot of times humans have like expectations about, well, you need to be like this, and I'm not going to be like that, and this needs to happen. And dogs just go, hi, pleased to see you. Give me some fuss, and oh, we're going for a walk. Brilliant. And it's so much simpler. And when I think one of the things, you were talking earlier about having been in a very difficult place in life. And a lot of times that's That's all created up here, that we think ourselves into a story and we think about how it's going to be and it's not going to get any better and da da da. And dogs don't do that. They just don't do that. They just deal with the very next thing. And that's a really coming back to going with the flow of life. If you could try and figure out what's going to happen in, 2 or 3, or like I tell a story to my son. Excuse me, mixing the stories, but I tell it my son has a big want to plan his career out and so on. And I said to him, there's a game of snooker where you can pop all the balls on the board on the table, and you get a maximum break called 147. But the only way to get that score is to by potting the very next ball, just the ball that you're trying to hit and put in the pocket now. And that is a great metaphor for living. I can't tell you what I'm going to be doing next year or the 5 years time, but I know what, and I'm actually in some ways I don't even know what I'm going to be doing today. But it comes back to when you go back to stillness, when you try to calm, stop all this thinking, stop all this I should be doing this or I need to do that, etc., and let something else come to you, then you're going with the flow. It feels much, you have a nice day because you did stuff that you enjoyed doing, and it all feels good. And after all, that's what we're here to do, right? Enjoy life.
Yeah, and we don't know why it turned out like it does, because now we got a puppy again, and I just why we could travel and do things, and now we're caught up in a puppy again, and I don't know why, but if I ask all the time why, I don't get the answer. It's what it is, and maybe it was something that it was meant to be, that we were supposed to get this puppy now. But a lot of things happens in life that we don't know why. And I used to ask all the time, why does this happen to me? Why? And I didn't get the answer. And then I felt life was against me. So I get very depressed all the time when I was thinking that I couldn't get life like I wanted to. And the mood goes deeper and deeper down. So when I stopped to do that and just more allowed life to flow like it flows, and don't hang on to the bad feelings for so long, then it feels better. Life gets better. Also, death gets easier to handle. I found it when I was sitting here, both to my husband's mother and to I'm working in the elder care. So it was one of my beautiful clients that I felt that I wanted to be with the last breath. And it was very, very yeah, it felt very deeply and beautiful to and I felt honor, because I've been working in the hospital with delivering children in 20 years, and that's also very, like you said, when you get your grandchild, it's a very big time to a newborns coming, and then in the other side you go to an old people that are dying. It's both are beautiful.
And the other thing, of course, is that I know a couple of other things that are going on close to me at the moment, where there's somebody who has like terminal cancer. So he's doing a great job of living every day like it could be his last, because it could be. But you know, when we think, especially when we're younger, I mean, we think we're immortal and we're going to last forever, and we take that for granted. And I think it's so important to realize that the gift of having another day of like we are today in the sunshine and walking the dog, and even those simplest of things, is really beautiful too. So that's and then I've got another friend who has had a big stroke, and so he's in hospital. Fortunately, he's recovering his speech, and you know, he had some cognitive issues like being able to understand stuff, and that's kind of coming right now. So it's all about coming back to the dog. You know, you've got to grab that moment. You've got to enjoy each thing as it comes along, or because it's far better than the alternative. You know, we only get to come here and, well, as I understand it anyway, we only get here to come and do this uh, in this way once. So let's make the most of it, and we are. So there's something else I want to mention, that you know, I make films, and I guess for a while I would go to the cinema and watch a Ridley Scott movie and going, I wish I could make films like that. I wish I had 150 people or 100, $200 million to make a film. And um, and of course I don't. I'm me on my path. Ridley Scott is him on his path. But I was fortunate enough to go to Salt Spring Island and interview some great people and produce a lovely film with them called The Genesis of the Three Principles, which is, you know, an hour and a half of talking about how the three principles were found, and sharing the feeling of the three principles in a very authentic, beautiful way. And I did that in a kind of shoestring budget, and they were very pleased to work with me, and I was very pleased to work with them. And it was done in a, you know, a beautiful way, of kind of loving, kind way. So it was such a lesson for me, and such a nice thing to be able to make and share with everybody, that I made. You know, I am. It turns out that I'm making the films my way. You know, I don't need to be Ridley Scott. I
And your movies are on YouTube, and they are very beautiful. And some of them are very short, and it just moves you back to the silence. And I love them. They are very nice.
well, I totally agree with you that really all people have to do is to tune into themselves, like go back inside and realize who they are and what life is for them, rather than reaching out. I must have this, I must do that, and so on. So I keep them short, because the idea is just for people to take, in this busy world, for people to take just enough time to tune back into themselves, and then they're off again. Then they can go off and do their thing. And I've enjoyed making all those films, and I've enjoyed, it's been a great journey meeting people like yourself along the way, and getting different stories and different experiences of their lives, and that's helped me, and the films have hopefully helped other people too. So it's a lovely journey to be on. Yeah.
Mm. And it's very nice to listen to when you make a movie, when someone tells with music and pictures, and the story gets more power together with what you're telling. So um,
I think I worked out that, just, I mean, I haven't been to film school. I've only learnt over the course of the last 14 years what filmmaking is for me anyway. But I think I worked out there are like 7 different levels of which a film can uh, have an impact. And quite often you know, we think about this, the narrative, the speech, and that's just one. So that's what I've been working on, is to have films that have more of a feeling in them, basically. Yeah, more feeling.
And I must say that your company's name, you're a founder of, it's the Stars of Wellbeing, you said, but also what I like very much, it's what's inside that counts. I love that so much.
Yeah, we did that. Early on. It was yeah, I'm sure there are better names I could give them, but that was the one that came to me. So hey, yeah.
Yeah, but it touched me.
Thank you.
Very beautiful, Julian. Thank you so much for this.
Oh, very nice to meet you. Very nice to meet you.
Thank you.